All right, looks like we're live there. And we're live there. So we are live on both. We'll just kind of hang out and wait for some people to jump in and join us a little bit. So hopefully you guys have been getting out there, been having some fun, chasing some elk, and enjoying chasing that magnificent creature that we all love. Okay, people are starting to roll in. Mr. Jay Colley, how you doing, bud? Those of you that are joining us on YouTube, feel free to comment in the chat. Let me know who's here. Mr. Scott, welcome, welcome. Pat O'Brien, good evening and welcome. Oh, Jay, what's up? Just counting down the hours before I head back up to camp for the long haul. Mr. Martin, welcome. Ty, good evening. Scott, hello. Alex, what's going on, Michael? Just getting ready to head back up to camp. I'll head back up Friday. There's going to be a long hunt. Larry Riggleman, hello, mister. But yeah, head back up camp. I'm just going to go up and run camera and call for my hunting partners and another friend, Stephen Phillips. Hello, Dustin Fowler. Hello from Colorado. Good evening, guys. Thanks for everybody. Thanks for jumping on. So Jordan Robinson, hello. So tonight we're going to kind of cover a couple of different things. First off, you know, we're in that period now where the elk are kind of transitioning from, you know, their pre-rut kind of mindset, getting into peak rut. I'm going to talk about what happens during that transition. Kind of what to expect for those of you that are heading out. I know I've heard from a bunch of people that you know, they're heading out. So Jim, thanks for tuning in. Benito, welcome. So, but just kind of what to expect during that transition, what to expect in the next several days. And then also Mr. Jason, welcome. So also right before I came on, audio is kind of here on the Facebook side. How is the audio on the YouTube side? So, but anyways, right before I came on, got asked a question and I said that I would just address that tonight. And it's basically some solo tactics for those of you that like to hunt solo. So we'll just give it just a little bit more, and then we will dive in. Mr. Larry, welcome. Mark, welcome. So, John, the elk are starting to fire up in Montana. Yep, we're definitely going to cover that. Benito, YouTube audio is good here. Perfect. Let me know from some of you guys on the Facebook feed. Let me know how the audio is over there. Mr. Jake, how you doing, bud? Heather, thanks for tuning in. So before we get going, guys, I know have talked about this. This is the little game changer call. If you remember right before season, I did a review on this little call. I'll tell you what, guys, the more and more that I use this call, I've primarily been using it. Dustin, FB audio is good. Perfect. Hey, thanks, Dustin. I've primarily been using this for my cow vocalizations. So when I'm back as a caller, I kind of have this in one hand and my tube in the other. And I've been doing my cow vocalizations, you know, through the big end on this. For those of you that aren't familiar, I do have a review video of this game changer. Definitely go check it out. But I am just... like I said, the more I use that, the more impressed I am with that call and the tones. So yes, please. Solo tactics. I had a great bull at 60 yards, just couldn't get him to close the distance. Why are we back to doing this? What do you think? I'm a caller with 2 hunters. How far should I have them sit up and hit? Okay, Jay, I'll hit that one. So remind me to come back to that. So, okay. So anyways, yeah, the game changer, it's just been blown away at how well. If you guys are interested, if you watch the little review video, or if you're interested, G4 Archery is where you can pick that up. So Okay, let's jump into it. So welcome everybody. Welcome to Wapiti Wednesday Q&A brought to you by Elk Calling Academy. Tonight, we're going to kind of talk about that transitional period. So first part of the season so far, we've kind of been into that pre-rut phase. I know I've heard from a lot of people, not a bunch of bugling action, not a bunch of rutting activity, seeing a lot of bachelor group of bulls. They're really not interested in the herd or in the cows yet. That's all about to change, or is starting to change right now. We're transitioning into that peak rut time frame. This is when calling activity will pick up. Bulls are going to be a lot more vocal. So Scott, Maddie, welcome, welcome, welcome. So this is when it gets really, really fun because of the bugling action. You have it's really, really vocal out there. But on the flip side too, once the peak rut really gets going, it's harder and harder to call herd bulls away from the herd because they have cows that are starting to come into estrus. And once bulls have a cow that's starting to come into estrus, that bull is locked down. He's not leaving her. So I'm not saying it can't be done. You can still pull that herd bull away. You might have to be pretty patient. Mr. Casey Gepford, welcome. Howdy, bud. You might have to be patient, and you might have to work that bull multiple days and catch him on a day where he does not have a hot cow in his group. So it's going to take patience, it's going to take persistence, and it's going to take you dogging that herd, waiting for that right opportunity. Your calling approach isn't going to change too much as far as, you know, the breeding sequence and all that. What is going to change is your ability to get aggressive. So, and because that bull has that cow coming into estrus, his energy levels and his testosterone levels are going to be amped up. So he's going to be in that defense mode. He's already going to be in the aggressive mode. That really allows you to take the gloves off and really, really be aggressive. So those of you guys that really like that aggressive approach, like that aggressive style of calling, this is a great time for you. But like I said, remember, you're going to have to be patient because, you know, with that bull being locked down on that hot cow, it's not like you're going to just be aggressive and he's going to come running over to you. Roger, howdy, Gentry, hey, bud. So, because you got to remember when he has a cow that's coming into estrus, the scent that cow is releasing in the air is attracting other bulls. So this bull is already going to be used to multiple other bulls around him, trying to vie for that hot cow, trying for that opportunity to breed that hot cow. And that's why your patience is key, because if you stay on that herd and you play your cards right, and you'll know on the day when he doesn't have a hot cow, because he's not going to be as vocal. We've talked about this before. You know, once a cow is in estrus, there's a lot of bugling activity around there. There's a lot of excitement. So if you go in there and he's quiet, then you know that, you know, there's no hot cow there. By you breaking in and doing that breeding sequence, so kind of what Benito just asked, can you get him to come in with an estrus cow call? When he doesn't have a cow in cycle, you break into that breeding sequence that we've taught about, you know, that we've talked about and what we teach, you know, in the Elk Calling Academy. You break into that breeding sequence, he's automatically going to think there's another bull in his area that has a hot cow. He's going to loop around his cows real quick, and he's just going to go, nope, I don't have anybody hot. I'm going to go over and check out that hot cow over there. So you can suck him over at that point. But remember, if he has a hot cow in his group, it's going to be it's going to be really, really tough to pull him away from that hot cow. So I'm not going to say it can't be done, but it's going to be really, really, really challenging. So Michael Meyer, hey, Mike, glad to finally catch one of these. Hey, welcome. So Stephen Phillips, so do bulls stay put guarding, or are they still nomadic? The bull's going to stay right in there with those cows, Stephen. He's going to be dogging that cow. His nose is going to be right behind her. He's constantly he's not going to move very far away from her at all, because he doesn't want to miss that opportunity when she finally gets to the point she's ready to breed. He's going to stay right there on her until that happens. Mr. Jim, how you doing? So, and he's going to be in that constant defense mode. He's going to be aware of other bulls. He's going to be running younger bulls off. He's going to be right back on her. So, if you guys, go to YouTube, the Mountain Project has a video. I think it's episode 48. I think it is. About the first 5 minutes of that video is of a bull that has a hot cow. Just watch the first 5 minutes. Watch how he responds. Watch how he acts. Watch what he's doing in defense of that cow. The video will immediately start off with him, nose right on the backside of that cow, licking the air. He's testing that air. And then you'll see him constantly running off younger bulls. But it's a great video to really have an opportunity to watch their behavior, watch how that bull is going to act when he has a cow that's in estrus, and how he's responding to all those other bulls around him. Because like I said, that creates a lot of excitement and really pulls a lot of people in, or a lot of bulls in, and can pull people depending on where you're at. Mr. Lewis Shelter, how you doing, bud? Okay, Jay. Going to jump back to your question. What do you think? I'm a caller with 2 hunters. How far should I have them set up? So Jay, the distance, and this goes for anybody. It doesn't matter if you have 1 caller out in front or 2 callers out in front. The distance between you and your shooters is going to be dependent on terrain and how thick the vegetation is, how thick the trees are. In essence, what you're doing is, remember, we've talked in the past about a bull will come up to a certain point where he thinks he should be able to see that elk that's making the noise. That is where you want your callers set up. You want your callers set, your shooters. You want your shooters set up at that hang up point. Then you as the caller, you move back to the point so that bull has to come to that hang up point, has to come to that stop point to be able to, see where you're making those sounds from. Or maybe you go back just a little bit farther so he comes through that hang up point and give that really good shot to your shooters. So there's really not a definitive answer on that, Jay. There's not really 40 yards, 50 yards, 75 yards. Each setup is a little bit different. You'll just have to take a look at, the area you're setting up in, where your angles are, where that path that bull is going to come in at, and then stand kind of somewhere by there and look back and go, okay, from here I can see to that tree or that bush or whatever. If I go just past that, he's going to have to come up a little bit farther, 10, 15 yards maybe, to see where that sound is coming from. And that's how you want to set up. So each time, kind of do that quick evaluation before you set up. So what do you do when a bull barks? And what do you do? Austin, when a bull, it doesn't matter if it's a bull or a cow, when any of them bark, you basically just bark right back at them. So basically what they're doing by barking is they're saying, I'm not comfortable with the situation. I don't think you're a real elk. I need to present yourself. By you barking back at them, you're basically saying the same message to them. So, Michael, didn't catch the video name. Michael, are you talking about on the Game Changer? It's just Game Changer Call Review, I believe is the video name. Game Changer is in the title. So if you go to the Elk Calling Academy YouTube channel, click on videos and then just look for Game Changer, or you can find it in the playlist under call reviews, and it's just that Game Changer. So how do you hold off on smaller bulls to get a bigger bull? You know what, Gentry? Bigger bulls don't really matter to me. I'm not out there for trophy. I'm not out there for a social status. I'm not out there for notoriety or this or that. For me, it's more of a feeling. If something cool happens during the hunt, I'm shooting that bull. It doesn't matter to me if it's a spike, if it's a 380 or whatever. So if something, in fact, the bull that I just shot on opening weekend, it was a great day with my hunting partner. We had a blast. We were sharing tons of laughs. It was something about that day, that area. So, but you know, how do you hold off on smaller bulls to get a big bull? If you have it stuck in your head that you want to get a big bull, then you know what? Just let the little bulls walk. Don't even draw back. As soon as you see them and you're like, nope, that's not big enough, then don't even clip your release onto the bow. So, I mean, I've heard that and I've been told it before. You know, you can't shoot the big ones if you don't let the little ones walk. That's okay. So I feed my family with all of the wild game that I hunt. That's all we eat. We do not buy beef from the store. So to me, it's more important. To me, the time out in the field with my friends, the laughter and the memories is more important than any rack on the wall. So thoughts on bull calling cow or roundup bugle mixed with cow calls when you're within 100 yards. So the bull calling cow is really all it is just a short lip ball or display bugle is really, you know, all that is. The roundup bugle, I've used, Isaac, I've used the roundup bugle, you know, in the past. A lot of times you guys will hear, you know, a bull do a roundup bugle, and basically you've engaged with that bull for a little while and he's just losing interest. And he's just going to do the roundup bugle, basically telling his cows, you know what, I've had enough, we're moving on. Use that same approach. Meaning if you're working a bull and he's hung up, he's not coming in, you can use that same roundup bugle and that same mentality or approach on him. Because basically now you're telling him, you know what, I'm getting tired of you. I'm getting bored with you. I'm going to round up my cows and move on. And it's really effective, especially if you've been doing the breeding sequence, because he's already coming in thinking that you're a bull with a hot cow. That's what got him coming your direction anyways. But now he hangs up. You can try that roundup bugle, because now, like I said, you're sending that message to him that you're kind of getting bored of playing with him, and you're going to take your hot cow and you guys are just going to move off into your own place. It can be effective to where it actually gets him to come the rest of the way in. If he still hangs up, then basically there is something that is causing him to hang up, and you need to figure out what it is. It could be something between you and him that he doesn't want to cross. Or maybe your setup, you have the advantage and he doesn't completely feel comfortable coming in. So try that roundup bugle. If he doesn't come in, then go quiet, kind of let him wander off, and then you can move up and see if you can figure out what's holding him up. What's the reason for him not coming up? Because there certainly is a reason. And most of the time it's because the path he has to come in, he just doesn't feel comfortable. So, but yes, it is effective. So Jay, you're welcome. Larry Bennett, welcome. Mr. Sean Keller, how you doing, bud? Tony, here in Idaho, not hearing anything yet. What would be a good plan of attack? So, you know, Tony, you're going to have periods because we've basically been in that pre-rut time frame, which is, you know, kind of some bulls gathering up cows. You know, have seen some big bulls still kind of by themselves or in bachelor groups. They really haven't gotten into it yet. But here we're getting into that transition from pre-rut to peak rut. to where their mentality is going to start changing. They're really going to start thinking about the cows. And so really going to hear a lot more vocalizations. In fact, I'm already hearing from a lot of people in different places that the bugle activity is increasing and the rut activity seems to be increasing. So which is right in line with kind of, you know, where we're at. That, you know, that pre-rut kind of happens, you know, the first week and a half, 2 weeks of season, and then you kind of start getting into the first part of the peak rut where cows kind of start coming into cycle. And then from that point on, more cows come into cycle and it just really starts ramping up, and you just start getting a lot more vocal activity. So even though the peak rut is going to get going, you will still have some quiet days here and there, depending on the number of elk that you have in your area and depending on the bull to cow ratio. You could have days where you go into a drainage and you know the elk are there, you're seeing the fresh sign, you're seeing this, but you're not hearing much bugling action. Well, again, that's because you're in an area that does not have a hot cow. There's no cow in estrus anyway, anywhere in there. So best approach on that is find some fresh sign, or if you have spotted some elk, you can see them, set up and start doing that blind calling sequence with that breeding sequence. And that will kind of create that excitement, get that excitement going, and get those bulls kind of bugling. So Ty, that might be your only chance. Andy, welcome, welcome. Larry finally got back to watch your video. Been hunting every day, been into elk, but no blood yet. So Larry, that's awesome that you're getting into elk every day. That makes it easier to get out of bed every morning. Ronald Eldred, welcome. How you doing, bud? Take them as they come. You haven't got, sorry, Ronald, things have been busy. So Isaac, do you suggest it with this pre-rut here? I'll be hunting Colorado Sunday for a week. Yeah, Isaac, if your hunt is starting Sunday and you're going for a week, you're actually hitting it in a pretty good time. So I think this week is going to be a pretty dang good week, because we have, you know, dark nights. Like right now we have a storm coming in that's going to drop some rain tomorrow and then clear out by Friday. Temps are dropping back down to, you know, low to mid 60s for highs, mid 30s for lows. Good dark night. So you have a dark, cool, cold night, and, you know, fairly warm days. And I think that activity with those cool mornings coming off a dark night, just going to see a lot of activity and longer activity, you know, in the mornings. So, all right. Thanks for the answers, Isaac. You're welcome. How do you get those bulls that aren't rutting yet to leave the cows they have gathered? So, Mark, that's where that breeding sequence is. You know, they're kind of hanging out with the cows, just waiting for a cow to come in cycle. You know, that's where you set up close by, you know, 100, 125 yards. You start doing that breeding sequence. You kind of create that illusion that you're a bull that has a hot cow. That bull's going to be interested in what's going on in your little herd, and they're going to want to come over and check that out. So, yeah, Dan Evans is having a hard time. I want to ask, give me a hyper hot call. You know, the hyper hot call, they're really, in my opinion, there isn't really a hyper hot call. You know, I don't think that a cow really makes any sound at all when she comes into estrus. So, I mean, think of a doe, you know, when she comes into cycle. That doe doesn't say anything. When she's ready to breed, she stands up, squats, and pees, and then he knows that, you know, she's ready. Same thing with a cow. So she's releasing those scents into the air. She's releasing those pheromones in the air. Now, if it gets down to the end of her window and she hasn't been bred, she's going to start doing that buzz mew, that demanding sound. Arr, 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 arr. You know, that buzz mew is a sound that, you know, kind of demands attention, kind of basically, you know, pay attention to me now. So It's not so much that it's a hyper haunt. It's just a sound that, you know, she's demanding that attention for that bull. But most of the times, I mean, that bull is right there on top, and he's really, really aware of what's going on. Oh, crap. Bryce Scott just came in. You know, the thick brush I'm talking about. Do they come out to breed, or can they in that brush? Yeah, Casey, they can in that thick brush. So as long as, you know, they're on a trail in that thick brush that's wide enough that, you know, he can mount and get the job done. Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's in thick brush in a timber pocket in a wide open meadow. It doesn't matter. They'll get the job done anywhere they can. So I hope this rain and cool weather gets them running and gunning. Andy, it will. So Mark, thanks. You bet. So, okay. So like I said, I was asked a question before coming on live, and it was basically about calling approaches for solo hunters, because I know some of you are going out and you're hunting solo, and it's definitely a lot tougher when you're solo. I mean, you know, when there's two of you with one back behind as the caller, you're sucking that bull into, you know, past that point where he's going to hang up, or past that point where he thinks he should be able to see the elk. When you're by yourself, I mean, you're the caller, you're the shooter, you're everything. You don't have anybody behind you, you know, making those sounds, making it easy, sucking that bull by. As far as your sounds and all that, you still do the same thing. The only difference is you're going to do it a little closer to that hang up point. And as soon as you're done with calling, you're going to move, and you're going to do a half moon. So you're going to move on the downwind side, whether that's to the right or to the left, and you're basically just going to half moon up. And I mean, even if it's only 5-10 yards to the side and 10-15 yards up, you're really not moving that much. But just that little bit of movement could be enough to where when he comes in, he's still focused on the location that you made the sound from. Now, you'll want to get everything ready ahead of time, meaning your arrow nocked, know exactly where you're going to move to, the path you're going to move, and everything. Make that call and then move. And it may be that you have to do that half moon, half moon, half moon before you get that opportunity of that bull coming in and get that shot. Now, this is a good time for decoys also, because you know, you've already got his attention, or you've got him focusing on where you made that sound from. That some sort of decoy in that area too will help focus his attention and lock him in, and could bring him in just a few more steps. But the thing to remember is when you set up a decoy, you call from that spot and then move. If you want to call and move again, you have to come back, grab that decoy, move it up to your spot, and then call and move and call and move. So that's the one drawback to using decoys when you're by yourself, but they also can be very effective to help you out to, you know, pull that bull's attention. So approach on solo, it's call and move, call and move. And I certainly know that there's going to be some times that you just can't move. So if that's the case, if that bull's too close, you know, your setup position, try to find a spot that's a little bit thicker so that he does have to come in close. That's exactly what happened on the bull that I shot. So was in some thick brush with some trails, and I happened to be on a trail that he actually had to come out of that brush completely to be able to see where I was calling from. And it was about a 16-yard window. So your setups are just as critical on solo as they are on 2-on-1. In fact, they're probably even more critical, because if you're trying to do it in fairly open timber to where he can stop 80 yards out or 100 yards out and see where you're making that sound from, it's going to be really, really tough to get a shot. So you may actually have to, dog that herd a little bit until you find that right place to set up and then start your calling sequence. Jordan, I've been hunting solo, got caught by a bull 10 yards while I was raking a tree, bow on the ground. We've all been there. They just sneak in quiet, and we didn't hear them. We still thought they were a ways out. We're moving, turning our head to call or rake or this or that. And all of a sudden, a bark blast out, and you turn and there he is. And you're like, where did you come from? And how did you get there? So it happens. So really a lot of times when I'm solo, like I said, I will find those little thicker pockets that are going to be my advantage as well, knowing that he has to come really close, that he has to come within my effective bow range for me to shoot. And for everybody, that effective bow range is a little bit different on how far they feel comfortable with, taking that shot. So whatever your effective shooting range is, and I'm not talking practice range, okay? Because I know a lot of guys that practice at 80, 90, 100 yards, and I've had conversations with them about on a daily basis, and they all tell me the same thing. But I can put every arrow in a paper plate at 80 yards. Yes, you can. In a controlled environment, on a controlled shooting range where your emotions and your elevation is in your emotions, your adrenaline, all that is in check. Can you do that same thing when your heart is beating out of your chest, when you have sweaty palms, when your breathing is sped up? So that's why my effective range is 40 yards or less. That's just something personally that I put on myself, 40 yards or less. But honestly, guys, I've said this before, I got into archery to see how close I can get the animals. My average shot on all the elk that I've harvested over the years is only 22 yards. So let's see them shoot after chasing a bull in high elevations. Not exactly. Isaac, exactly. Ronald, me too. Yeah, Ronald, I saw you put the 40-yard on there also. So there's so much that can happen with longer shots. I really don't think people, and a lot of times when I hear people talking about these longer shots, a lot of times it's people that haven't harvested an animal, or they only have, one under the belt, very, very little experience. They don't understand how tough these guys are and how far they can go. So, whoa. Okay. Sorry, this one was, YouTube was slacking behind. So, okay, here we go. How do you bark? So Daniel, what you're going to do when you bark is you basically kind of do the first note of a cow sound. And then you're going to do a burst of air and so through a tube. So that's how you do a bark. Okay, Roger, they seem to always be held up around 80 yards on many videos. So as a solo hunter, how do I call them in past the holdup zone? Roger, that's where choosing where you set up on that really, really is critical. So, choosing those good setup locations, little thicker timber, maybe some brush, something that they're going to have to be closer to you to be able to see. If you find those, if you find those areas where they're moving through that more open timber, so you don't have the vegetation, start using the features of where you're hunting at. Maybe use a little roll where you call on the backside of it and then just move to the top side, to where he has to come up to that top side to be able to, see where you made that sound from. Use anything like that. Use vegetation, use the topography, and see, use those to your advantage. So Gentry, I don't care either. Okay, Benito, That was the mountain project video you referenced. Yes. Yeah. Like I said, I think it's 48. I think it's elk and rain or something like that. So, I'm just like you, can't hold off. Benito's comment ×2. Steven, let's say we miss a nice bull. He survives the season in winter. Will he rut the same vicinity the following year? Yeah, they will. And in fact, they'll still be in that same area. Just because you called in a bull and missed him doesn't mean that you can't re-engage that bull if you have the opportunity to. In fact, a few years ago, was hunting with a couple of guys and called in one bull for one of the guys in the evening. You know, he shot. We started looking for blood. We just found a couple of pin drops. You know, we were looking, heard that bull bugling, came back in the next morning, couldn't find any bull, saw the bull on his feet, and he was fine. 2 days later, we were back in that area. I was calling for the other guy at this time. I mean, it was a bugle fest that day. So called in a bull at first light, heard his bow go off. I kept calling. And then about 5 minutes later, I heard his bow go off again. And you know, like I said, I couldn't see any of this that was going on. And then I walked up to him and he told me, yeah, this bull came in about 30 yards, 35 yards. He took the shot, hit him. The bull wheeled, went out. And then I actually called that same bull back in and he got a second shot on him. What's crazy is when we got to that downed bull and started breaking him down to pack off the mountain, we actually found the first guy's arrow. It had actually gone in just right next to the rib cage. So that was one bull within 2 days that I called in 3 times for 3 shots. So just because, you know, if it was a non-lethal hit, yeah, he's still going to be there. He's still going to rut. His testosterone is going to ramp up. So, absolutely. So, okay. Uh-oh, my wife is now watching, so I got to behave. So, any tips on chuckling, grunting with a mouth reed? So, Kevin, I do have a video on the YouTube channel on how to chuckle, but basically you're almost going to do the same thing with the bark where you're going to do that first note. And then there's 3 parts to it. There's the note. Oh, and then suck back in. Oh, 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 oh. So easiest thing to do when you're chuckling is get all 3 of those parts. Get the note, the oh, the note, oh, note, oh. Do it slow with all 3 parts. And then once you get consistent with hitting all 3 parts, then you can combine the first 2, the note, oh, note, oh, note, oh, and then add that 3rd part in, but do it slow. So when you're first learning, and then once you have that down, then you can start speeding up that rhythm. So, Kevin, hopefully that helps you. Okay. What do you do when a smaller bull comes in front of the herd bull and comes in and blows out? How do you still get the bigger one to come in? Well, it depends how that smaller one blew out. It depends what he did. So if he's coming in and he blows out and goes that way, but the herd bull is still that way, I'm not too worried about it. Usually what I'll do on that is I'll kind of do some little short scream at him just to make it sound like, you know, he came in and I ran him off. So that's going to make that bigger bull go, okay, hey, you know, this bull just ran off that little bull. But if that little bull comes in and sees you or wins you, and he turns around and heads back to where the big bull was, and his nose is in the air as he goes, that's a defensive posture. And he's basically just letting that big bull know there's warning up there, there's danger up there, don't go. At that point, you're not going to get that bigger one to come in. So, all right, that's why we bow hunt. Absolutely. Hey, call me on Messenger. Ronald, yeah, I'll call you when we're done if I can. We'll see how late it is. At 80 yards, if an elk jumps string or decides to move, they can take 1 to 3 steps before the arrow hits. Absolutely. So, Jeff Anderson, welcome. Kyle, hello. Mr. Robert Gonzalez, the elk whisperer himself. Welcome, welcome. Adam, hello. Mark, hello. Scott. Okay, just answered some of the questions. Perfect. So I thought he said 38. I thought it was, I don't know, guys. It's 38, 42, or 48. So like I said, just look for elk rain. I think that's in the title on the mountain project. I apologize for not having that number down. So something we found out is you have to get close before they respond. Not necessarily always the case. It depends where you are and kind of what type of environment they're in. If they're in an area that wolves are around, yeah, you're going to have to get closer to them, and you're actually going to have to lower the volume on your calls for sure. And actually, some areas, if they're in really, really thick brush, coastal range of Washington and Oregon, places like that, you're just going to have to get closer before they respond. And it's not because they won't respond from a distance, it's because it's so thick they just can't hear you. So in Coeur d'Alene, we had some great action on Monday after it cooled and got some cloud cover. Perfect. That's good to hear. First time catching a live feed on here. Thanks for all your info. You provide lots of good stuff. Hoping for some good rat action in Montana this weekend. Nick, welcome for the first time. So yeah, best of luck on your hunt. For those of you guys that follow our Facebook page, I know I posted a few pictures yesterday of some of the Elk Calling Academy students that we've done lessons for. Definitely seen a lot of bulls hit the ground. I absolutely love that. I love hearing stories from you guys that come on to this live Q&A, that you find some useful information and you apply that out in the field and it contributes to success. I want to hear about that. I want to see the pictures. I want to hear your story. I actually get more enjoyment out of your guys' success and out of my hunting partner's success than I do out of my own. That's just one thing that I love. I remember how it was when I started. I remember, that overwhelming feeling of joy and accomplishment and what it took to put an animal like this on the ground with a bow. So I still remember that feeling. I still remember my first hunt. And when I hear your guys' stories, I just get to relive that all over again, and it's absolutely awesome. So, are you a fan of Estrus Bombs, Adam? I'm not sure. Estrus Bombs is are you talking about that aerosol scent can? Yeah, the bombs. I've never used one, so I really can't say one way or another of how effective they are or how well they work. So, how far out have you had a bull respond a cow call? Edward, honestly, shoot, 300 yards. So maybe a little more. So it really depends on, again, terrain, where you're at, how far that call is carrying. If you're in an elevated position and there's not much trees to really block that sound down, that cow call can actually drift all the way down to the bottom of that canyon, and a bull could most certainly respond at a ways down there. So again, that's really a tough question on how far, because there's a lot of factors that contribute to that. Are you on the top? Are you on the bottom? Is it thick vegetation? Is it fairly open? So just remember, if you're elevated with less vegetation, your sounds are going to carry out farther, and you're going to be able to get responses from farther out. So Stephen, as a solo hunter, yes, the setup before you call is critical in case that bull is close and comes running in. I now always look at cover before I call. Absolutely. So being prepared beforehand, even if you're with a hunting partner and you guys are going to sit down and you're going to do a blind calling scenario, a blind calling setup, get arrows knocked. So, because you don't know, and that's the thing with that blind calling is you don't know exactly where those elk are. You don't know how far they are out. So, same thing with non-vocal elk early in the season, or even now with an area where there's not a cow in estrus. You don't know how far out, how far they have to travel, how fast they're traveling, which direction they're coming from. That's all part of that excitement. But yeah, being ready before you make a sound is really, really critical. Be prepared before you get going. Jeremy, did you shoot your goat? No, I haven't been out yet. Been focusing on elk. It all depends. Like I said, heading up Friday for the long hunt. Hopefully can get the rest of the guys tagged out. So that way then I can switch gears and go chase and do spot and stock on the goat. I'm excited to get out there and do that. So what's your opinion on arrow selection? So I prefer a little heavier arrow, Gentry. I want, that little heavier arrow. I want weight. I'm not worried about speed. And in fact, I try to keep my speed in that 270 to 275 range. So I will actually do things to make that arrow heavier so that I can stay in that speed range. It just seems that range there carries good kinetic energy. It carries good momentum. It breaks bones. It drives through. So I'm going to lean more towards the little heavier side, on the arrow. So, but I don't go so drastic on the arrow that, it's really arcing at, 30 yards. So best thing to do is match your arrow weight with your bow to find that good, happy mix to where you get good arrow flight, you get good kinetic energy, you get good movement, you have decent speed. There's a lot of combinations that go into that. When does wallowing subside? They'll still continue to wallow, Stephen, for a while, because really on that wallowing, there's a few different reasons that they'll wallow. Reason one is early in the season, they're wallowing to get that coat of mud on them to keep flies off of them, keep the bugs off of them. But also they're doing it just like putting on cologne as an attractant scent, just getting stinky. That's why they pee in those wallows. Yeah, that's why sometimes some of those wallows are just, whoa, they're pretty active just because of the smell. So, but they can continue on using that wallowing, until it starts getting, too cold. So, and I've even seen it with wallows where first thing in the morning they had a small layer of ice on them, and, come back by that wallow a little bit later and the ice is broken and has been used. So 800 yards on a cow call on certain days. Bernie, hello, brother. Just got back. Wife tagged out with a mule deer. Awesome. Congrats. Adam, yes. Adam, okay. Thank you. Greetings, brother. Colorado bulls are just starting to get vocal. Been pretty slow so far. Cool. So there's another report. So now we have North Idaho and Colorado of bulls starting to pick up on their bugling activity. With bad wind, that estrus closed the deal for me once. Yeah, and like I said, I haven't used that estrus bomb or whatever. If I get into areas where there's a little bit of swirling wind or this or that, and that's just where I have to go in. I use the hot on the trail scents. I'll actually, take that stick and wipe it on 4 trees around me. So it's on the outside of perimeter, and hopefully that can kind of help cover my scent a little bit. Josh Knoll, welcome, brother. Edward, thank you. Going to help a disabled vet with cancer on his elk on Friday. Bernie, that's awesome. Best of luck to you guys. Would you say more bulls come in for you slinky and silent or bugling and loud? Um, Kevin, actually a majority for us is they come in bugling and loud. So just because of, our approach and what we do with, that breeding sequence, it just creates that excitement. So, and gets them excited and gets part of, their blood going, and that's what raises their adrenaline and gets them bugling and vocal. So if you have high confidence in your cow calling and no confidence in your bugle abilities, can a guy still call in bulls with only cow calls? You can. I mean, so there's a few different approaches, to calling an elk. One is bugle only, that aggressive. Others is cow call only, and then there is using cow calls to set up bugles. Each one is effective. So when you limit yourself to only one, if you limit yourself to only bugling or only cow calling, you can still be effective. You can still be successful. The only parameter is you have to find a bull that's in that mindset at that day. And especially right now where we're rolling into the peak rut, where you have bulls that already have a lot of cows, sometimes only focusing on the cow calls can be a little tough to, pull those bulls away. But where you have that herd bull with cows and then satellite bull scenario, it's a very effective to pull those satellite bulls in. So, because they kind of want cows for their own. So absolutely, you can still call in a bull with only cow calls. Now, the other thing to remember, Nick, is, while you're learning to bugle on a diaphragm reed, there are tubes out there that have external reeds. So, Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls has the selectable, there's the power bugle. Elk Nut has the Chuckler XTR that has the Conqueror mouthpiece in it. So those are really user friendly. And I know a few guys that will cow call on a diaphragm reed, but they'll bugle on that external diaphragm type grunt tube or bugle tube, just because that's what they have the confidence in. And it's a great tool to use to allow you that confidence while you're learning how to bugle on a diaphragm reed. And I have some guys that all they use is, externals. So, and they're successful with it. So don't think that you have to use a diaphragm reed to be successful in hunting elk. The diaphragm reed is nice because the versatility that allows you to go from cow calf calling right into bugling and you're completely hands-free. That's the advantage of the diaphragm. So I'm trying out tooth of the arrow broadhead. I was hoping you had some results. Jeremy, yes, I do. This past summer when I went to Wyoming to do that seminar, on the second day, we actually did some broadhead testing. We got back at 40 yards. We did a sound test to hear how loud the broadheads were. And then we also shot them into kind of some cultured stone type rocks just to see how they would perform. The tooth of the arrow performed really, really well in both tests. So even after shooting that block, that had just had a couple of dings in the blades, but still was definitely straight, still spun true, and definitely you could sharpen those and reuse it. So tooth of the arrow is a really good broadhead. So Benito, 494 grain full metal jacket with a kudu point, 250 feet per second. Okay, or too slow? No. As long as, and actually since you're shooting a 2-blade single bevel, I would actually prefer you to be a little slower than that 275. So, because the one thing with a 2-blade single bevel, if your speed starts getting too high, those 2 blades will have a tendency to plane at longer distances. So no, I think your setup is really, really good. If you could choose between a limb driven or a down cable arrow rest, which would you choose? I'm going to choose limb driven. I think they actually just react a little faster. So again, personal preference from experiences that I've had. So, and especially with some of the bows coming on the market today with the speeds that they have, you want that fall away out of the way quickly. And that's where a limb driven is going to benefit you on that. So, okay, I switched to the QAD, excellent groups and tough as nails. Thank you for that tip. Not a problem, Adam. I love the QAD Exodus. QAD is an amazing rest. Love it. Kevin, I haven't shot the, yeah, I have shot the QAD rest. Sorry. So, Brandon, Tony, how you doing, bud? Scott, what are your thoughts on mechanical broadhead for elk? Kill a bunch of bulls, always fixed. Scott, I'm not a huge fan of mechanical broadheads. So I've just heard, I've never shot them. They're illegal in Idaho. I've just talked to too many people that do shoot them. And I've just heard too many horror stories. And in my mind, that's just one more thing that's mechanical. That's just one more thing that can fail. So even if mechanicals did come legal here in Idaho, I would still shoot a good fixed blade cut on contact type broadhead. Just because I don't have to worry about anything not opening. I don't have to worry about any failures. So again, that's just my personal preference. So I know there's plenty of guys out there that have shot expandables that have had really, really good luck, good success with them. So, but just my personal opinion, I'm not a fan of mechanicals. So Exodus, great broadhead. I cow called in a nice bull this morning into 15 yards, but unfortunately he spotted me. So that's cool. That's still a successful hunt right there. So Healy, New Mexico, still quiet. Bulls starting to bugle last couple of days. So they're starting to crank up in New Mexico too. Okay, great info. You're welcome. Thanks, brother, for all your tips. Absolutely. Hey, listen for all last minute advice. Should be elk camp in about 2 hours, hitting it hard. Josh, best of luck to you. So safe travels. Hopefully your arrow finds its mark and you guys have find great success out there. That's good. I suck at bugling. Andy, we're going to resurrect that. So Mr. Lee Cotton, welcome. Lonnie, welcome. I have AAE Pro Drop limb driven. Good rest. Fred Widman, the man, the myth, the legend. How you doing? Manny, how you doing, bud? So, all right, let's see. They're starting to pick up on Yakima Reservation also, but pressure is great. Natives everywhere, like wolves, keeping them on their toes. So, okay, so guys, there's northern Idaho, Colorado, New Mexico, and Washington. Everybody reporting that bugle activity is picking up. So we definitely are getting into that transition. We are getting into the front of that peak rut. So this is when it's going to get vocal. This is when it's going to get exciting. Lot of calling activities or opportunities. So with that increased in calling, it's very, very easy to get lost in the moment. So you're going to be having a ball. You're going to be having a lot of fun. Still take the time to analyze the sounds that you're hearing, analyze what's going on, knowing what to say back based on what you're hearing. And that's really, really going to increase your guys' chances of increased success. I've been guilty of it before where I've just gotten into it and, oh my God, this is so much fun. Still got a job to do. Okay. Heading to southern Colorado, north of Pagosa Springs tonight for a 7-day archery hunt. Any advice? Mad Melton, yes. Go out and enjoy the journey. Have a lot of fun. Take the time to watch the sunset as it comes up in the morning. Just have fun. Be thankful for the opportunity that you're out there. And, yeah, just breeding sequence. So, you know, pay attention to the bulls, hear what they're doing, kind of respond. And that's the other thing, guys. When you're doing this breeding sequence and you're getting responses, pay attention to what that bull is really responding to. So, you know, if he's jumping on your cow sounds, but you're not getting any responses to your bugle, he's telling you what he likes. He's telling you what he's wanting to hear. Pay attention to that. Give him what he likes. Give him what he's responding to. Now, he may respond to both, but maybe one's just a little more excited on the response. He's going to let you know what sound he likes and what mindset he's in. So, all right. Any tips for filling a cow tag going out here in Colorado this weekend? Dan, if you've got a cow tag, play to the maternal instincts of the cow, which basically means you're going to take your reed, and you're just going to kind of start doing some distressed calf. So that will play on the maternal instincts of the calf. They're not sure if it's one of the calves in their group that's in danger, but they're definitely going to be interested in play on that maternal instinct for them to come in and see what's going on with that distressed calf. So, okay, what up, man? Thought I had given ear for a moment. Manny, appreciate that. Which unit 581? Okay, good luck, man. Thanks. Going to be a quickie, but I'll be out in the woods, so it's all good. Absolutely. Okay, Gentry, I'm not going to get my bow out. I'm not going to show the rest. I know you've been asking a lot for me to do a video on my equipment, so I will do the video. I'm not going to go pull it out right now. So, okay. There we go. Sheep in my area, they're gone. How long does it screw the area up? Jeremy, elk can actually vacate the area where the sheep came through, and they may not come back in until that smell of the sheep really, really subsides. There's a huge difference between sheep coming through an area and cattle coming through an area. Sheep, it just looks like the swather just came through and just, you know, knocked it all down. So it may take a few days for that sheep smell to really subside before they start coming back in. So Mad Mountain, I just came from a day hunt there. Good luck. They were silent and far and few between. Okay, there's a muzzleloader hunt before my hunt here in Arizona, only 25 tags. So my hunt starts the 21st of September as others start the 14th. Do you think the hunt will affect mine? Plus full moon on the 24th. You know, Roger, the muzzleloader could have some effect. I remember the year that I hunted Colorado, we actually had a muzzleloader hunt that started up right in the middle of the season. We still actually got bulls to respond. We still had good call-in activities, even with a few of the muzzleloader shots. So the thing that I've noticed on the muzzleloader, it's not like opening morning of rifle. It's not constant shots. It's not a constant barrage. So may not affect them much at all. It really depends on how many muzzleloaders you have exactly right in there where you're hunting. So, and as far as the full moon, actually the full moon, it's really not that bad. Pay attention to the moon rise and moon set. If the full moon is rising, you know, 9, 10 o'clock and staying up all night, that's going to have an effect on the elk, meaning they're going to be going to bed earlier. But remember too, since they go to bed earlier, they're going to get up during the middle of the day and they're going to be pretty active. So recommendation for you, Roger, is leave camp in the dark, come back in the dark, stay out there all day, stay close to their bedding areas midday. They'll let you know when they get up and start moving around because they'll bugle and they'll start being pretty vocal. So midday time during a full moon is a great effective time to kill elk. But unfortunately, so many people just have that mentality of, oh, it's a full moon. We're only going to be able to hunt the first hour of the day and the last hour of the day. The rest of the day is a waste. And they go back to camp. Not so much. You're missing some great time. So Ryan, hey, welcome, buddy. Zach, hello. So yeah, Roger, leave camp in the dark, come back in the dark, stay out there and be ready for midday activity. So can you explain and or demonstrate a breeding sequence for us rookies? Nick, unfortunately, I'm going to have to hold back on that one. That's some of the stuff that I do teach in my private lessons, that I do have students that pay for those private one-on-one lessons. If you definitely want to know more about the breeding sequence or know more about those sounds or this or that, certainly hit me up and we can talk about you know, getting a lesson scheduled. So you don't have to live in the Boise area because I use Zoom video conferencing for everybody that's outside of the area, and you also get a recording of your lesson. So I do apologize. I got to kind of be aware of some of those guys. So want to get a new rest, can't decide on getting a ripcord drive or a Gen 7 vapor trail. I don't have any experience with the Gen 7 vapor trail. I have shot the ripcord. The ripcord is a good rest. So I would say really, you know, Gentry, go online, do some research, you know, just type in Google reviews and start reading what people are saying about both of those. You know, go in and take a look at them at the shop, see how both of them are made. Just compare all the features side by side and kind of do a little bit of due diligence on those two together. Compare price points, features, what they're made out of, and check reviews of everybody else. Mr. Brian Rochelle, welcome. Congrats to you and your dad on your father and son tandem there in Wyoming. That is awesome. I'm glad you guys were able to get it done. So, all right. Can't wait to try out all the gear from the giveaway New Mexico bull hunt. Oh yes, that's right. Zach, you won the kill kit, the starter kit. Yeah. Best of luck to you. I got to go, but I just want to say big mahalo to you. I've gotten into more bulls this year than I ever have. Benito, I love hearing that. Thank you. Best of luck to you and keep at it. So I thought I saw cool weather going to bring them lower. Not necessarily. So just because the weather gets cool isn't going to push them down, because they still have access to all their feed. They still have access to all that. The snow is what really drives them down. Once the snow starts piling deep and it gets tougher for them to get access to the food, then they're going to start moving to lower elevations to get into food that's easier for them to get. So just because the weather cools off, no. In fact, the weather cooling off is actually going to get them to be a little more mobile, a little more active. So Hamski Gentry. So yes, Hamski is actually the rest that I'm shooting right now. So Jeremy, good recommendation there. So, all right, guys, we are at that 1:05 mark. So external calls versus reed calls. Brady, I'm a fan of diaphragm reeds just because, you know, the versatility of them, you know, going from your cow-calf sounds right into your bugles, but plus being hands-free. But I do know that some people have an extreme gag reflex, or maybe they're allergic to latex and they can't use a diaphragm reed. You can still be effective with the external reed calls, whether that's an external reed cow call or an external reed bugle. I do carry an external reed cow call with me. It's always in my pack. Sometimes it's nice to bring out just to, you know, give a little different pitch, a little different tone. So, but yeah, I prefer diaphragm reed calls. So. Okay, Friday's video is the full-on review of the Raptor system from Blacks Creek Guide Gear. So that will go live at 6 o'clock on both YouTube and Facebook. So next week, there will be no Wapiti Wednesday Q&A. Sorry, guys. I am going to spend a few days up in the hills calling for my partners, unless we can get it done before then. If we do get it done before them and I come home, definitely watch either the Facebook page or the Instagram page, and I will make an announcement that Wapiti Wednesday. But for right now, no Wapiti Wednesday live Q&A next week, but we will pick it back up the week after. So Benito, it seems like full moon during a hunt isn't as bad as people make it out to be. Just switch up your strategy to catch them moving around noon and getting up early in the evening. Absolutely. So, all right, guys, I am going to wrap this one up for tonight. Again, I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. Appreciate the questions. Love the interaction. So all of you, best of luck. Safe travels. Have fun out there. Okay. Don't be so focused on the success that you lose sight of the journey. So enjoy your time out there. Enjoy your time with family and your family and friends. It's a great time to be out there. Definitely a great time to build and strengthen those relationships. So Roger, thank you so much for your time. Very much appreciate it. Good luck on your guide. Thank you. Michael, thanks, Michael. Hope you have success on your trip. Thank you. Thank you. So all of you guys have a great night. As always, thanks for tuning in. As always, keep calling, keep practicing, but most importantly, guys, have fun. We'll see you on the next Wapiti Wednesday live Q&A brought to you by Elk Calling Academy. Have a great night, everybody.